Welcome to episode 118 of the Sports Geek podcast. This week I chat with New Zealand Warriors Bodie Friend.
Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now, here's your host, who wrote the intros while flying across country, Shaun Johnson.
Thank you very much, DJ Joel. Yes, my name is Shaun Johnson, and I do get a surprising amount of work done in planes. Actually, been discussing with a mate of mine whether we should set up a co-working space that is effectively an airplane with no Wi-Fi access and see how much work gets done. I think getting cut off from the internet at times is useful and does focus you. I've written a few presentations on planes over the years. Thank you very much for listening to the Sports Geek podcast. My name is Shaun Johnson from Sports Geek. You can contact me via email, shaun@sportsgeekhq.com, or via most social medias at Shaun Johnson is my handle on most channels. And you're listening to the Sports Geek podcast, either on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and you might be doing it in my favourite podcast app, Pocket Casts. This week I catch up with Bodie Friend from the New Zealand Warriors. They are a team in the NRL, and they are the one NRL team out of New Zealand. So they have the whole country behind them. So we talked to Bodie about his start in sports and how he got his break into the world of sports, and now how that's evolved into his current role as brand and communications team leader at the Vodafone New Zealand Warriors. So I hope you enjoy this chat with Bodie Friend from the New Zealand Warriors. Very happy to welcome from the other side of the ditch, from the New Zealand Warriors from the NRL, Bodie Friend, brand and communications team leader at the Vodafone Warriors. Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast.
Kia ora, Shaun. It's great to be here, I guess, and long-time listener and first-time guest.
Yes, that's the thing. We've sort of gone backwards and forwards, met via the Twitters and gone backwards and forwards. Your Twitter handle, what's your Twitter handle for the people who are listening?
I've changed it around a bit. It's just at Bodie Friend. Keep it nice and simple.
At Bodie Friend. Yep, exactly. So send Bodie a message that you're listening to this. But yeah, we have gone backwards and forwards on a few things. So take us through, one, that role, brand and communications team leader at the Warriors. That's a new role, and there's been a bit of change. You want to take us through a bit of your history with the Warriors?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a backdoor entry into the club, so to speak. I spent about 10, 12 years as a graphic designer. Through that time, it was through the recession, a lot of redundancies, but also the positive about it was having to upskill and move more into the digital world. So I became, multi-skilled in a lot of areas. And obviously, I've been a big fan of the club. It's my team since day one. And then I was also behind the scenes working on a magazine called NZ League Magazine, which was just a little local magazine I was helping out with. And I became familiar with a lot of staff at the club, and I was dealing with them quite a lot. And they had an opening come up for a communications coordinator, which was the role just kind of fitting in a lot of different areas, whether it's video, photography, social media, digital websites, a little bit of marketing, email communication. So it was a bit of an everything job, working directly with the communications manager, Richard Beck, who has a real long history in rugby league and journalism. So we were a two-man team for a long time. And then,
so just on that, so you're coming at it with a real strong graphics bent, and that's where I'm really interested, because talking to different people, in the sports digital world, that they do come from, vastly different backgrounds. Like myself, I come from a geek and a techie background, and then you talk to guys like Richard Clark from Arsenal, now at the Rapids, from a real strong journalist background, and then that other flavour is that graphics design background like yourself. So how did you go about going, well, I've got a really strong, I've got strength in this space, in the visual aspect and the design space, but then stretching yourself to understand, all the different facets that are required in a digital department, and especially in such a lean team with the 2-man team, which would be very familiar for a lot of people who are listening, because there's a bit of, you've got to be able to do everything and become a bit of a generalist. So how did you go about making that change to start doing a bit more writing, or picking up more video, or understanding the email side of things?
Good question. No tricks. It was just a lot of hard work, trying stuff out, just getting straight into it. I guess what I liked about that area was engagement with the club. Has such a strong following and passionate following that there's just so many fans out there wanting to see the team succeed, but also want to engage with the team. So from my design background, also I believe the Vodafone Warriors have a really strong brand, and that I just keep lifting that up and using that as a tool as well, that both everyone in New Zealand, across Australia, know who the Vodafone Warriors are, and it was just using my talents to use that as a way in, but also just, like I said, hard work and learning on the go, in terms of all the social media elements and digital as well. And I had a little bit of background in video, but I wouldn't say I'm an expert in the field. But as we know, that's just growing more and more important over the last couple of years, even more so. So I was spending a lot of late nights cutting, editing, uploading videos to our website. So I was screaming out for some more support, and the club came to the party. We brought in an intern, Rapo Mari, and everyone quickly realised that this is such an important aspect to the club and the department, that we hired him full time. And so we soon became a team of 2 to a team of 3. And things were still tough. I mean, I know there are a lot of people out there, as you say, that have small teams, and as soon as you bring someone else in, you're adding another component, but you're also realizing there's a lot more that you can do, and so we're just trying to still manage to do as much as we can to the best standard that we can.
Yeah, and I think it is. Video is definitely the crunch. You weren't alone in that, seeing how much time it takes to produce video, but also the rewards of the amount of video you produce. So, teams across the board have added more and more resources to appease video, and the fact that all the platforms are now fighting over video give you the opportunity to really amplify that content. So your team now is a team of 3 supporting, or have you got any more people on the ground now sort of supporting the Warriors?
No, there's more to the story. As of earlier this year, we hired a full-time graphic designer, which, again, we've got a bit of an interesting structure in the club. We have a fan engagement manager who oversees membership, marketing, game day, and communications, Aaron Lawton. And again, still a small team. And I spoke to him and saying that even though I have a graphic design experience, we were bringing all our marketing and agency work in-house. So obviously I couldn't handle the workload of both doing my role I'm currently doing and also churning out all the visual assets for both digital and print and all the in-between. So we are now a team of 4, even though I guess graphic design sits kind of just to the side of what we're talking about. It does help that we're growing the team, and ideally we'd probably want more people, but I'm happy with what I can get.
Yeah, so I mean, this is another interesting point where a lot of people who are now moving up the ranks in running digital teams, as they've gone from smaller teams to building them out. In those early days, you were on the tools, so to speak, on all the different things that need to be done. And in your case, you had just, a lot of strength in the graphic space, but then, like you said, you're using the social tools. How have you found yourself stepping back a little bit, knowing that you're still doing a lot of work, but stepping back a little bit and handing over some of those responsibilities to new staff members? Have you found that transition easy to do? Is it a bit of a case of, hang on, just let me do it, like that, those control issues? How have you found going through that transition a little bit?
It's still pretty fresh, and I don't think we're still going through it. And I've been here for four years, and it just seems like we're always transitioning or always evolving, always doing something new or trying things out. So from that side of things, it hasn't been too hard. I guess we can all, there's a little element of, I've been doing this. It's hard, it's hard to let go. But the bigger picture is that we're doing a better job for the club. We'll be able to engage more with fans. We'll be able to help out all our departments, because that's obviously a big goal of ours. So if you're taking a look at the bigger aim, it's not too bad. Like I said, we're still working through and trying to find that balance across the whole team. So yeah,
and you really do want to have, especially in that small team that you do have, that is going to grow. As more content gets produced, you get better KPIs. There's more ways to monetize it. But with that small team, you can still have everyone across things. There's still a lot of generalist work that needs to be done. People get pulled into jobs outside their roles because there's in sports, and I don't swear on the podcast, but there's the bit of that JFDI, just do it, yeah. Right? And you've just, if there's a job in front of you, you've got to do it. So there's a bit of that mantra of JFDI to just get the job done. So from your team's point of view, trying to keep to fulfill all the requirements that you've got to do for the website for Warriors.kiwi, as well as hit all the marks and all the social platforms, and also hit all the things that the NRL wants you to do in terms of video and that kind of thing. What's your major theme, to serve the Warrior fan and Warrior Nation, or the fans out there that follow the Warriors? What's your major theme in what you're trying to do from a digital team?
Major theme, I guess, as I said, as we're still growing and still developing, is just trying to get to a standard that we want to be, and that the fans would be happy with, that we're catering to what they want out of the club from a digital perspective, trying to become more consistent especially in season, that we're providing regular content that fans expect, but also giving them stuff that those special content that they don't expect, but it just it makes them proud or makes them want to engage with the club even more. But also getting that balance right and delivering on all our internal targets about promoting merchandise, membership, ticket sales. And so I guess the major theme is being consistent and getting to the level that we all want it to be, because I don't think none of us are happy with where we're at. And so, as I said before, just continue to develop and find that balance right, not so much working harder, which we've done in the past, but working smarter and focus on what we do well and tweak what we can improve on. I think there's a lot of growth area, both on our digitally, on social media, and then tying it all in together with our other departments and making sure everyone's happy.
Yeah, I do think that, the phrase, working smarter, not harder, is one that's really applicable to digital departments, because there is a lot of content or tasks that get done, and that sometimes they just get done because they've always got done, and sometimes, and it's very hard from a team point of view, and this is normally where I'm talking to a team where you don't have the time or the ability to step back and sort of have that 30,000 foot view of everything you're doing, and saying, well, why are we doing that? Because if if the fans aren't engaging with it or consuming it or saying they like it, then there's the case of, well, we should move on from that piece of content, that project, or whatever you're trying to do to work on on the piece and double down on the piece of content that the fans do want. So I think that's a real case of what you were just saying there: work smarter, not harder, in focusing on the specific things that are hitting the mark for you. And in your case, it's growing the brand and growing the affinity with Warriors fans around the content that you develop. And I just find there's a lot of teams that don't take that time, and whether it's, not saying you have to meditate on things, but just looking over the content you're producing and just say, why are we doing it? Especially when you look at it from a resourcing point of view. I find it nothing more frustrating than finding out that your video resource spent 5 hours producing this video and it just fell flat. And it's like, well, if it didn't work, you've got to have this ability to go, well, that didn't work, but what else can work? Where else can we better use those 5 hours to produce something and sort of focus that? Because it's very, on both sides, it can be very demotivating for staff if they're producing something that the fans aren't consuming. But then on the other side, when you hit the mark and the fans love it, it gives, makes your whole team walk a little bit taller when you start producing that kind of content.
100%. Like you mentioned before, there's elements of the workload and having to do things that may sit outside of your area, and you just have to do it. And because we're a small team, everyone's pitching in. But also there's other things like the cut through of information. There's so much information out there on social, Facebook, for example, that to get your story out there may be a great story about a visit out to the community, to schools, but to get that cut through is very difficult. But then, so on the back of team performance, if your team's not doing so well, that fans just won't. A lot of fans just won't want to hear it, and so there's always, if you're walking a fine line on the tightrope to getting things right. So it's just about always listening as well and trying to do your best, because sometimes we might have some content in a week that actually that's not going to work right now. We're going to have to park it and just play it cool for a little bit and then bring it out later on. And, you see a lot of teams having to do that as well.
Yeah, I do think that is a real important thing to find, I guess, the cadence and the right moments to talk to your fans. And it's not about pulling content when you've had a bad loss. It's not as simple as that, but it's about listening to your social to know the sentiment of your fans, what they're feeling, and how that what their appetite for content will be. But then also looking out for those opportunities that can give that bright spark to your team and lift the emotion. And one incident recently was one of your players, one of your star players, Shaun Johnson, putting out a post on his Facebook page saying, who wants me to be Waterboy for your team. Got a stack of coverage, both digitally and then also in traditional press. What was it? Take us through sort of behind the scenes of your point of view, because that's a great opportunity for the Warriors to be involved, and then to see that sort of sentiment sort of rally around both Shaun, and then that wash off comes back to the team.
100%. When I first saw it, I was just like any other supporter. I was on Facebook, saw his post, and went, "Wow, this is going to be huge." And then I spoke to him, and he was just saying, I was just lying on the couch watching a bit of TV and thought, hey, I'm not doing anything this Saturday. How about I go and help out some kids? And so, I mean, just taking a step back and thinking about it, it's like, drawing comparisons to some of the great NBA players going to a local school and just playing ball with the kids. I mean, you can't get better than that. It's natural because we haven't pushed it. It's been off Shaun's own back, and then he kind of spoke to him and said, well, he still wants to keep it natural and not like a promo that he just wanted to go up.
It's not like a staged event or anything. So. Yeah. And the thing that's fascinating, and I know the relationship that teams, and it's not just an NRL thing, but teams have with players, and how much they can ask the players to do, and how much the players have pulled in to be part of content and pieces like that. So you can't always be pitching, if you took this the other way and pitched this to Shaun and said, hey, how about we do this, it would definitely fall flat. Like, he would probably most likely say, no, I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound right. But when it's organic and, the player says, sitting on the couch saying, I want to do it, I think the other example I can think of is when NBA star Kevin Durant, during the lockout, someone asked him to come down and play pickup, and he did.
Yeah, I remember that.
So it's the same sort of thing. So, and the good thing, of having Shaun there saying, I don't want to make a big fuss about it, but he's a big star in New Zealand. There's going to be a big fuss about it, but it's really great for the team to see what's there, cover it as the team, and just let the fans be happy and be part of that story.
Absolutely, and there was much more to the story as well. Like, the team he picked, the coach had been hit by a drunk driver and had lost his leg, and he was coaching in his wheelchair. All the media went out, even though we didn't really talk about it to media, but they just jumped on it straight away, and there was a really good vibe. It was in my local community where I live, so I just had to drive up the road, and all the kids were happy. He was Waterboy for the team, and then he realised that the other team weren't doing so well, so he jumped onto the other team and he was Waterboy for them, and then he decided to chuck on a jersey and play halfback for the team for a couple of minutes. And so there were a lot of laughs. And just as you say, it's organic, and it's just personal as well. Like, just people doing good things, and I think people can appreciate that. We take a step outside of the sport bubble. It's just about Shaun wanting to do something good for kids.
And I think that's a real advantage and the opportunity for athletes. I'm lucky enough to work with a few and seeing, I guess, the engagement that they are getting on their channels. And there's a real, for all the affinity that fans have with their team, which they have high affinity with, and they love their Warriors. The connection with the actual athletes themselves, and this is why you've got the battle between Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and the like on what's going to be the primary platform for athletes, because the content they're producing, albeit not by media departments, the connection with fans is super high.
It is, and even for us, a good relationship with the players is key. Working with them, having their trust, and we just want to, for myself, I just want to support them and help them out as well. And so I helped Shaun get onto Facebook Mentions app, which has helped him and his, and also, they're really busy, so for them to manage their social accounts is difficult, I can imagine, given their schedules. So I think a lot of the guys do a great job, and at least putting something up for their fans, and you see guys chatting to people on Twitter and things like that. So you can't expect the world from them, because it's really a grueling schedule, playing week in, week out footy, training, and everything in between. So, no, just when something like Shaun wanting to go up and be Waterboy, we just wanted to support him and in anything he does. And the same with any of the other players, if they want to do something like that, or some kind of way to engage with the supporters, definitely there to help out and support them.
I think I've done some training with both athletes in the football world, in the NRL and the AFL world, and also Olympic athletes. And I think the best thing, if you're working in a digital department and you're coming in touch with a lot of the players, what you've got to remember is that they're athletes first. They're not they're not comedian and entertainers, which is what they look at from when they're looking at social accounts. And so there's a little bit of deer in their headlights, or a little bit of, I don't want to be seen as boring with a lot of athletes. And I think what you can do, and what has worked for me, is just giving them a few, like what athletes are very good at for the most part, and what their whole life revolves around, is being told what to do in a lot of aspects of their life. Like, they're told when to run, when to go to the gym, what foods to eat, and it's a very regimented life. And I think what works and what's worked when I've done training with athletes is just giving them a few little tools and tactics on how they can go about engaging fans, or how they can share parts of their life to be interesting, by saying, when you're at the airport, why don't you start chatting with fans and then jump on the plane, or you can always be sharing a photo in this instance. And if you actually give them those actual examples, they take it on board straight away and go, that makes my job of doing this social thing a whole lot easier. And then the flow on becomes that they become part of your team's, digital family, and they start understanding that, when you put out a certain piece of content, that they promote it. And it's not so much that awkward, can you promote our promotion type conversation. It's more, you're just part of the digital family, and this is how it works. You scratch my back to promote our stuff, and obviously, conversely, the team can be mentioning them or retweeting them and making them part of it. So it's trying to get that mutual relationship going. But if you can help them with their content issues, and that's what they have content issues of what should we do. If you can say, if you did this, this and this, take a photo before the game and tell everyone you're looking forward to it. And the easiest one they can do is to say thank you after a game, and they tick the box of most things. That's a relationship that you've got to build, like you said before, that trust and being able to have that conversation with them, because they will have the silly questions of, how do I do this? And they don't want to ask anyone online. And as the digital team there, you can answer those silly questions of, how do I use Facebook mentions, or how do I get rid of someone that keeps DMing me all the time? Those kind of things. And I think that relationship with the players is, you've got to keep it professional, obviously, but to make sure that they, that you're a trusted advisor in that space, can really help the digital department without a real direct, it's a real indirect benefit.
Absolutely. Like you said, that relationship is important. I was a bit of a deer in the headlights when I started at the club, being a fan, having watched these guys play week in, week out, and then all of a sudden you're working with them. There was definitely to be honest, a learning curve, and I made a few mistakes, but quickly learnt from them because that trust is important. And like I said, helping Shaun out on Facebook mentions, but also he had the whole Waterboy concept, and he came to me and he said, look, I've got this idea about doing this little Photoshop job of the Waterboy. And I said, yeah, that'll be great. I'll help you out. And it was just little things like that. As you said, they're part of what they do, is automatically part of the club, and they're ambassadors of us. So if they're doing being more engaging on their accounts and doing fun things like that, and it extends to the way people look at the club as well, and vice versa. So definitely want to help them and encourage them. And I've always said to them, they're always here to help, not just from a club perspective, but just if you have any questions. I mean, I don't consider myself an expert, but definitely want to help. And at least you can give someone some time, then it's a first step. But there also is other dynamics as well. We have the junior team, reserve grade team, but also at the start of the year, just spending a little bit of time with them, saying, there's a player welfare aspect to it, just be careful, and giving them, and the NRL doing that as well. So I think that as it grows, and like social media and sport, as we all know, just go hand in hand together. But we first and foremost want to look after the players and make sure they're safe, and people have to realise still that they're human. And it's a weird element, from when I was a kid, interacting with sports stars was, waiting in line, trying to get an autograph, to all of a sudden you can tweet at someone or comment on their Instagram post or Facebook them and not have any real repercussions on what you say. So there's a whole lot going on, and it's just don't sleep.
It is a bit like that, but I think that the digital cheer squad, if you will, is a lot closer now to athletes and via athletes their team. So there's a real there's a real advantage, and that's where athletes just need to get it in their mindset to a certain degree that a favouted tweet is the same as 20 years ago's autograph or a reply, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
People now don't walk up and say, "Can I have your autograph?" They walk up and say, "Can we do a selfie?" And that's just the way it is. And the opportunity is there for the athletes, the smart ones that understand that relationship, and there's opportunities for them down the track.
Absolutely.
To wrap up, I've got the 5 questions to wrap up this interview. So thank you very much for coming on. What was the first?
No worries.
Can you remember the first sports event that you ever attended?
Interesting story, because my dad was a rugby league player, and so I spent a lot of years in the 80s, late 80s, not that old, watching him play for North Sydney. So Clayton Friend, former halfback at North Sydney, spent a few years watching him play for the Kiwis as well. So, yeah, rugby league was my first sporting event.
Seeing your dad play, that's you. I think you're the clubhouse leader with your first event to actually saying you're watching your dad play. So I've never had anyone say that. You probably would have been to a few stadiums in your lifetime. What's your favourite food at a sports event?
Ooh. So a little backstory. In 2014, we won a competition, my colleague Ra and I, to go visit 10 franchises in the USA. And the experience there was mind-blowing. The best stadium experience was watching the 49ers Seahawks in Seattle. Crazy. I can't even comprehend how it was. But the food over there was, as you'd expect, just on point, with the pretzels, the waffles, the burgers, the chips, the hot dogs. It's kind of quintessential sporting food, but I do like White Lady burgers here at Mount Smart Stadium. Just a little drop
okay.
in.
Oh, that's all right. And yeah, that's Seahawks Stadium. And I've been there a few times. And yeah, it is a terrific stadium to watch football. But I'll have to come over and check out the White Lady burgers now that I'm just building up my own food sports travel show if I get enough of these answers. What's the first app that you open in the morning?
Oh, I kind of mix it up. Instagram, Facebook, on a personal level, Facebook. But yeah, and probably between those two, maybe Snapchat.
Okay. And Sports Geek podcast listeners, who's someone that you follow or read or listen to that they should, and why?
I couldn't really single out a single account, but I guess for us and from a professional level, we're always looking at what they're doing in the States, or what are the NBA teams doing, what are the NFL teams doing. And I really like the NBA teams, so I follow a lot of them. We got to visit the guys from Sacramento Kings, and they were awesome. They spent a whole day with us, so I follow those guys.
And so that would have been so Andrew Nicholson.
Andrew,
you would have met at the Sacramento.
Great guy.
There we go.
And,
so Andrew's been a former. Okay.
And his brother came down to New Zealand. I met up with him, gave him his T-shirt, and it's kind of, the great guys over there. So NBA teams following what they're doing, but also Bleacher Report. Those guys always come up with some great stuff.
Cool. And if you had to pick a most valuable platform in the social media landscape, what platform would get your vote?
What a question.
It's like picking your favourite child.
Yeah,
if you were a parent.
It's always a favourite child that's doing different things week to week. Like, things are always changing, and I like Facebook. Obviously, is the beast that it is, but it's tough as well. It's always changing, and here and there. What most valuable? I guess you'd have to say Facebook, but I do enjoy the others. I think Instagram, because a lot of our players are on Instagram. That's pretty fun as well. But I don't think I could put my life on one or the other because things might change.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. So Bodie Friend is your Twitter handle. Where else can people find you and reach out to you?
That's probably the best place. I mean, I'm on Instagram, but not worth following, I don't think.
But I'll put your LinkedIn profile in the show notes, and they can follow all things NZ Warriors. Your NZ Warriors on most platforms.
Yeah, we try and on Snapchat as well. Snapchat's probably the new boy in terms of the accounts that we have, but we're definitely having a little bit of fun with that, and we kind of just jumped straight into Snapchat. And we've had work with Snapchat directly and got 2 geo filters for our home games, which I was really excited about. So check out our Snapchat account as well.
All right. Well, I'll put your Snap code into the show notes so people can follow the NZ Warriors on Snapchat. Bodie Friend, thanks for being on the Sports Geek podcast.
Thank you very much. Anytime.
Sign up for Sports Geek News at sportsgeekhq.com/sign up now.
Thanks again to Bodie Friend. One correction from the interview. After we got off the call, Bodie realised that he actually gave his wrong Twitter handle, and I can see why. Because Bodie has multiple handles and he's got a few different names that he uses. His Twitter handle is actually Meandering Bear or Bodie1 Kenobi on Instagram. So I'll put those links in the show notes, but please send Bodie a tweet, not at Bodie Friend, but at Meandering Bear. Thanks again for Bodie for his time. And again, it's always interesting. I've always find it interesting how people get their start in sports. And I do get a few people sending me emails or asking me in person at networking events, or how do I break into sports? How do I want this certain role. I want to do the role like Bodie. I want to be doing the graphics and the comms and the all things social for a sports team. And a lot of people are trying to get straight into that role. And really, it's about getting your foot in the door and getting started. And, for Bodie's case, it was working in print and in League magazine and getting his grounding there, and then getting into the sports scene from a graphics point of view. And that's the thing that I always find interesting, that there are multiple ways in. It is a matter of finding out where there is a gap in the skill set. I think at the moment there's a gap in the skill set for these newer platforms, especially Snapchat. Didn't get to talk to Bodie about Snapchat, but they've been doing some really cool stuff on Snapchat, setting up some community filters on their stadium, and also doing some stuff with the players around their Snapchat. So again, if you're a young up and comer and wanting to get into the world of sports, and you know a platform really, really well, and you're using Snapchat natively, that would be the angle. Put your hand up to be the Snapchat producer for a club, and I really do think that will become, if not a job title in sports in the next 4 or 5 years, it'll definitely be a role that needs to be filled. So look at different ways that you can tell a story, and look at how you can tackle that platform natively, because there's definitely a space in the sports digital realm for people that understand how to use those newer platforms and to reach that newer fan segment. So yeah, send in a tweet at Shaun Callanan, or send me an email, and join in with the conversation, if you will, on how did you get your start in sports? I love catching up with people at conferences and asking that, and the amount of times that I hear people saying they started as an intern, or have pulled on a mascot suit, or have handed out flyers, or have set up tents. It really is about just getting a start. That's it for this episode. One thing I would love for you to do after you've listened to this episode, if you are driving right now, don't do it. Or you could stop. You pull over your car right now. If you're jogging, wait to the end of the episode. Is if you can help me decide and help get momentum behind my next big podcast guest. Episode 62, I was lucky enough to interview Mark Cuban for 45 minutes, got a lot of feedback, and had an absolute blast. So I want to do it again and again and again. And so what I'm going to use this time is I want your feedback. I want you to help vote. I want you to help drive the momentum and the case for these people to come on the podcast. So thanks to the guys at Tradable. I've set up a poll that allows you to vote. There's 9 nominees on the feedback that I took both in person and via email and via Twitter on who people thought I should interview. If you go to sportsgeekhq.com/tradable, you can put your vote behind who you think I should interview next. At the moment, Shaquille O'Neal is leading votes, followed by Magic Johnson and LA Clippers owner and former Microsoft executive Steve Ballmer. I would love to interview those 3 guys for sure. I think it would be a lot of fun. So yeah, please join in. All you have to do is go in, click, tell me who you want to see there. And I think I'll actually keep this as a rolling thing and hopefully use it as a bit of momentum. If Shaq comes along, I'm going to point him there and say, look, there is 100 people, there is 150 people, there is 200 people. So please, if you do one thing this week, please go in and vote. I'm starting to rally the troops in the Sports Biz Slack to get a few votes in. So again, I'm going to use this as a bit of if you've heard my story on how I got Mark Cuban, one of the reasons I got Mark Cuban was the social proof of all the guests that I've had. I will continue to use that with over nearly approaching 150 guests from the sports business world. I'll continue to use that as social proof, but I also want to show that the audience wants to hear me interview Shaq about the sports business and his experiences, or Magic Johnson and how he transitioned from athlete to absolute mega entrepreneur and now team owner with the Dodgers, or what was it like for Steve Ballmer coming into the LA Clippers and what does he want to bring as a sports owner? As sort of this, new sports owner. He's only been there a couple of years. So go to sportsgeekhq.com/tradable. Very much appreciate it. And don't forget that I'm going to be doing a Q&A session with Lenny Go from Tradable Bits, where we're pretty much just going to be brainstorming and doing a bit of a Q&A session on how teams are getting results with sponsors with Tradable Bits. And it's going to be relevant whether you're using Tradable Bits or not. Go into a little bit of how to create a campaign, how to pitch it back to a sponsor, and how some of the teams, including some of the ones that we're working with, are using Tradable Bits to increase commercial returns with their sponsors. So that's it for this episode. My name is Shaun Callanan from Sports Geek. As I said earlier, please send me an email, send me a tweet, tell me that you're listening. And I will leave this episode, the sounds of the game this week come from a few Richmond fans who were full of my Facebook feed was chock-a-block with videos and snaps in my Snapchat feed after Richmond kicked a winning goal after the siren, and 40 or 50,000 Richmond fans went up as one. And motion sort of filled the MCG, and luckily enough, the way social media now allows it, there is now video of the fan point of view. So have a listen at the end of DJ Joel's credits to listen to what the fans' reaction was after that Richmond last ditch win. I know it made my mum, who's a mad Richmond fan, very, very happy. And until next week, my name's Shaun Callanan, and you've been listening to the Sports Geek Podcast.
Like the Sports Geek Podcast? Find us on Facebook.com/SportsGeek. Check out which teams work with Sports Geek at SportsGeekHQ.com/clients. Please leave a review on iTunes. Go to SportsGeekHQ.com/iTunes.